Well, hello everyone. Today we are here with Meet the Breeder in Tennessee with Evey and Rachel Burchett. Welcome, Hilltop Blessings.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys? It looks beautiful there today.
It is. We had storms last night, but it's been beautiful all day today.
Well, you had some pretty bad storms a few weeks back, didn't you?
Yes, and we were actually kidding in the middle of those ice storms. So we had to move all of our does into my shop, and we went in with 8 and walked back out with 18 because 4 of them killed while we were in there.
Oh, wow.
It was quite the ordeal. We had everything set up for the weather, so we had to evacuate everybody and put them in the shop, and
they were scared.
Yeah, they were scared, and it was quite the ordeal, but it was kind of fun kidding while you watch TV. So
would you mind sharing a little bit about how you started with goats?
I'll let Evey start on that story.
So when I was little, we got a pony because I wanted a pony, but no matter how much we tried, we could not gentle that pony down. It was mean. It was really mean. So then we got 2 weather goats, and I just fell in love with the whole goat thing. So we had unregistered for a while.
We followed everybody's advice and bought 2 little weathers just for pets, and they were here for probably 3 or 4 years. And I can remember my daddy, he's gone, but I can remember him telling me, it's just as easy to feed a good one as it is one that's not registered. So I was sitting there thinking, and I was like, what are we doing with these guys? We're not doing anything with them. So we went and got a couple of little girls, and then about a year later, we got a little buck, and that was our first kidding season. So we kidded those does out. And when we were sitting there and we were watching them play, and we were obsessed. I mean, you know how there's the sweetest little things. And so that I remember again thinking, okay, but they're unregistered, and we're not, I'm spending a lot because you do it all right. You do the coccidia prevention, you do the feed, so you're spending more than you're making by far. And I remember thinking, well, I wonder if we could get into registered and make a little money. That really hasn't worked either. But we have better stock, So that year I decided to clean test the whole herd, and all I kept was the first weather that we had. The other one had passed, and he's still here. Bucky is still here. He's on the website. He's our old man, and he's 9. And but they all tested clean, so I sold out of everybody but him, and I bought some goats off of Barbara Tedesco and Terry Burns. They have been instrumental in being helpful and everything. I can't say enough about Terry, especially, and Barbara's wonderful too. But Terry has had thousands of phone calls from me. She is the best mentor you can imagine. But we got 2 or 3 from her. Molly was one of the first ones. She's one of our favorites. And then Moonstone was another doe that we got off her, and we retained both of her daughters and let her go. And so it just kind of spiraled. And I have always been a competitive person. I don't know I just want to be around people that do what I do. I don't know if competitive is the right word, but I like to socialize with people. So we started showing a year before last. We went to a couple of shows.
She was a little baby.
Yeah. And then last year we made it to 1, Wilson County, because with COVID, there was so many shows that we couldn't make it to. So last year we went to Wilson County and we started milk test. So it's like every year we've kind of added something, just one little thing after another. You kind of upgrade, and then you add a program, and then you add another program. And this year we kidded out more than we ever have. And they've just exceeded our expectations every time we put them to a test, or, milk test or showing or anything. We've just been really pleased with how they've done.
Evey, would you mind talking about what your involvement is with the goats? Do you participate in any like Add to Youth programs or 4-H or FFA or anything like that?
4-H. I've won the speech in my county for the past 2 years. 3 years.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
And it was always over your goats.
So we are going to go through the Hilltop Blessings website, talk through some of their critters. I'm going to let them kind of share whatever they feel comfortable sharing.
We can start with Miss Molly. She's one of the first does we ever brought in, and she has just made us so happy. She milked 900 pounds last year. It's like 920. And being my first year on test, I really didn't time it all right. If I had left her on, I think she would have broke 1,000. But we went ahead and rebred her, and then I realized I needed to dry her off for 2 months. So we dried off just a few. I think it was almost a month early, a little less. But she is a heavy milker. We have always been so impressed. She has really open orifices and a nice teat placement, and so she's easy to milk. And I was wonderful that was the first one I started milking, because I have some now, when you get into those first fresheners that are smaller and it takes them a little while to stretch and stuff. But Molly, I can stand in the field and milk her. And she throws beautiful kids. She gave us quad boys this year, which was, we had a discussion about that, but she's our first love, and she's our herd queen, but she's really good about it. She's not too rough on anybody. She's
talky.
Yeah, she's very talkative. She likes to tell everybody what's okay and what's not okay. But
very pretty udder.
Yeah, she's on her third lactation right now, and as a first freshener, we didn't do milk tests, so we didn't really know. We put her on last year. That was her second lactation that she did the 920, and we're hoping this year that she can break that. Those 4 boys are a lot on her right now, and we dual raise, so we don't pull the kids very often except for milk test and sometimes at night for separation. But she's raising her babies, and so all 4 of those boys leave at 8 weeks old, which is 3 weeks from now. And of course we milk morning and night to strip her out, but she'll start really showing off, I think, once those 4 boys are off of her.
Okay, let's go on to your next senior doe. Okay.
Yes, this is our sweet Goldie. It's what we call her for short. She is out of some stock that we got from Barbara Tedesco, and her mother is a really nice doe. She's built a lot like her mother, and almost every daughter she's had that's walked in the ring as a junior has done reserve or champion. She just really stamps them with conformation. Goldie is very long. She's got a deep body capacity. I mean, those pictures are as a first freshener. And she walked in Williamson County and won her junior championship, the second show she had ever done. And we're really, really hoping to get her in the show ring more. She went to Wilson County last year and got 6th out of a huge junior or yearling class of first fresheners. And so I think if we get her in the ring some more, we can finish her. That's our hope for her. She got her stars last year, but as a yearling first freshener, she was a couple of months behind everybody else. So I did dry her off after she got them in butter fat and protein to kind of get her back in order with everybody else and give her a little rest since she was a yearling. She kidded triplets, so it was a lot on her, but she did wonderful. She raised them well, and this year she kidded out triplets again. But I really am impressed with her conformation, just the build on that doe. I have a lot of people who brag on her when she walks in the field because she's just flat across the top on the move. And so we're really hoping to show her off some more when we get more shows going.
Who would you like to talk through next?
I think we can go to our first fresheners now.
Okay.
Let's see, we have La Luna. This doe is out of a Herd Rock doe that we got from Terry and a Cedar View buck. I don't know that we don't have any pictures of Cedar View buck that we had, but his name was Cedar View Uberto, and there's a funny story behind him. I was changing bucks and was just monitoring, but I really wanted a mature buck for my next one. And we were watching on Facebook, and I saw this picture, and all it was a picture of a buck, and it just told where he was and said he was registered. So just looking at him, I was kind of impressed, but he was a little overweight, and he had just a big look about him, and I was needing width in my herd. That was one of the things that I was looking to breed into. So I contacted the lady about him, and it's funny because she showed me his pedigree, and it was wonderful. He really stamped our herd, and his does went into those Luna and then Karina and another doe went into their ring at Wilson County and were in the top 5. Luna was second in one ring and third in the other. She was part of the third place and the second place junior group. And we had the first place get of sire, which really impressed me the most, I think, just because it showed the consistency that he had put on his daughters, the width of the escutcheon, and they really, really bragged on his daughters. But I worked him out of a job quick. Like when he came here, I bred him to every doe that I had. And so he now is at Last Resort Ranch. Hannah Packney is using him. But she's a good friend. I kind of still have access if I needed to with him. But he was kind of the one that took off our herd. All of our juniors just about are out of him. I kept daughters out of 3 different does out of him. And we're fixing to kid Molly's daughter out of him April 1st and see how she looks. But Luna really, she has a good wide high udder for a first freshener. We're really impressed with it. And so we really want to see what she can do over the next couple of years. And her sister Karina is a twin, so we retained both of those. And we've just been really impressed with what he did with our herd. And I think you always have those moments where you win your first little junior champion, or your doe like Molly, milks an impressive amount and wins her Juju award, or you have those changeovers kind of like with Uberto, to where you can see that one buck made a big difference and helped you move forward. So that gives you motivation to continue, to cull the ones that are not as impressive and retain the ones that are, and then try to do it again with improving something else. And I think that's just, you're never going to get perfect, but it drives you every time you see something improve. And so we've been really proud of him, and he's the sire of most of the juniors that you'll see. Luna gave us twin boys, and they're Swiss, and they're cute. We love them. But yeah, all our does were not helpful with daughters this year. We had 4 does kid during the ice storm, and out of 10 kids, we got 2 daughters. So we got 1 from each buck that we have now, and we've retained both of those. But they were very stubborn with girls this year. So
yeah, we're not off to a great start either. We've had 4 kiddings and we've had 1 doe kid born. And I only have 2 more does left to freshen. So not looking good for us this year either.
Oh, I was talking to Cade. He's a good friend. I'm so impressed by him and his farm. And we were discussing that too. I'm getting a little buckling off him to be a sire for some of our next ones. And we were just like, what is going on this year? All boys everywhere. But I always say, if they kid healthy and wonderful and we can move them, then that's okay.
Oh, great. Who are we talking about next?
We can go to Karina. That's her twin sister, so we can just show her.
Okay.
She had a beautiful doeling this year out of Little Mountain FL Sugar Rush, and we have retained her. The doe is really long and level. Rush just stamped his kids with levelness. It's just, and length. They are all just limousines. And so she did good at Wilson County too. I think she was 3rd and 4th. And so both of those are just kind of ones we're holding on to see what they can do as 2nd and 3rd fresheners. Got it.
And you had 1 more first freshener?
Yes, she hasn't freshened yet, but she
okay.
should first. And that is Molly's daughter out of Uberto. So you have the Cedar View Uberto sire, and then the Herd Rocky Miss Molly, which is the doe that we talked about earlier that milked 920. So we're really hoping for capacity and some width out of that one.
Got it. All right. Juniors, or are we going on to bucks?
We'll just go on to the Autumn Gold daughter. Sure. The other 2 are out of some of our stock we traded for last year, but we have some interest in them. So I think that we're going to let them go and try to retain a few more out of our herd name. Okay. But Autumn Gold is out of Goldie. So you can see that level top line again. And yeah, she is out of Uberto and Goldie. So we have a theme going, Uberto. But Goldie's a hard one for me to really see what I needed to work on. And I can't wait for linear appraisal to help me with that. That's that's one thing. I have attended a couple at Terry Burns's farm and just loved it, so I'm anxious to see what I need to work on, because I think some of us get barn blind. But so far she looks a lot like her dame. She has a little more width from Uberto, which is what we wanted. But I'm anxious. I didn't freshen her this year. She was plenty big enough, but she was going to be out of rotation. I wasn't excited to freshen her in the summer. I could have bred her at 7 months, but I like to wait till 8 or 9, and I really didn't want a kid in June, so we held her off until the fall. So she'll be bred this year, and she's getting too fat, so you know how that goes with the yearlings that we don't breed. But she's beautiful, and we're not really color breeders, but people wore me out about her because she has that double face. Part of her face is moon spotted, and she's cold.
There's a picture of Uberto.
Yeah, that picture is Cedar View Uberto. That's her sire. But yeah, she's one of the ones that won get of sire with him. So those doelings in that picture of me and Evey showing are Luna, Delilah, and Autumn, all out of Cedar View Uberto. And so you can see the width that he put on them. And but yeah, those color breeders really loved her and were not happy with me that I wouldn't part with her. But I just, I like it. It's cute. We have a few moon spots and we have some blue eyes, and I have no problems with it. I love to look at pretty, but they gotta prove themselves before they get a stay. And so hopefully she's going to, because we really like her.
All right, moving on to your buck pen, or did we have more juniors?
No, we have Little Mountain Farm Sugar Rush. I have long admired Sarah Moore's goats. She has some wonderful does. And I think the one that has impressed me the most is his grandame. I think I have pictures of her. Mulan. She is the buckskin doe there with the ribbon. But Evey handled her at Wilson County, just helping out. You know how we all help each other. But I had already purchased Rush before that. He just is so long and level, and her goats speak for themselves. There's just so much that impresses me about him. So when we were looking for a buck, and he was available, I called her, and we were going to take a trip and go to her house. And it was spring break of last year when COVID really, nobody knew what to expect. So instead of having a little vacation, I run straight over there and straight back one day and got him. But every kid that he has given us this year has that long length and that levelness. So we worked on width and we're working on length, and I think you're always just balancing. But I cannot wait to get him in a show ring. That is my goal this year, is to get my bucks in a show ring, and I think that he's going to do very well when the judges see him.
All right, and I think we have one more special buck that we're going to talk about.
He is from Terry's farm. He is out of Buttonhead's Laguna and deals beer money. And when I handle them at appraisal, I like to help people so they can actually take notes and stuff. So I helped lead some of them for them. And I was just so impressed by both of them. Of course, Ellen and Tom have always been revered as breeding some of the best with the Buttonheads Deals lines. And we love Cowboy. He has just really showed off in a lot of ways. If you watch our videos, we've had a lot of bucks, and all of our bucks kind of had their mind on one thing, but we have learned that Cowboy really likes to play. So him and Evey play, and he wants to learn. She's led him many times all around the place, and then he likes to learn tricks.
He's intelligent.
Yeah, he's smart. He cracks us up. But as far as looks wise, he's a powerful buck. He was very awkward in the first clipped picture because he was at that teenage stage. I think he was 6 or 7 months. But the winter pictures were this winter, and you can kind of see how he's grown into being a mature buck, and he's bringing more power. I think Rush kind of is our more dairy buck with the length, and Cowboy's kind of bringing some power behind him. So I like to have one of each that, for the improvements that we're having.
All right, Evey, did you want to share some of Cowboy's interests with us?
This is Russian Cowboy, And Cowboy likes to play. Good boy. Anything you bring in here is his toy. And he follows direction really well. We've laughed at him many times. We make a lot of videos with that one because he likes to run and jump. He loved the snow, which was kind of funny. He wanted to play in the snow the whole time.
How old is he?
He is, let's see, he was a year old in December. So he will be 2 this December. So he's a year and a half-ish. And then he'll be 2 in July. So he's a little older. But he's a little smaller. Cowboy's going to be a big boy. I don't think he'll go over height, but he should be right at the stick. And Rush is a little small.
Any advice or anything you'd like to share before we go?
I guess the best advice I can give, because I'm still new, so I remember the new advice that we get from people, is find a good mentor. Terry has walked me through a really hard kidding with Molly. She has walked me through every program that I have done, feeding regimens, any kind of issues that I've had. And I just think it's really important that new people do that. They really find someone that they can trust that will help them with everything that they don't know what to do yet. I think we all have that. And there's all our little babies playing. They're out in the sunshine today, being babies. But that, and then I've had some people ask me when they're selecting their own what the best thing that they should do. And I think some of the best advice I got about that is you have to be careful when you get started. I think a lot of people want to see all these different farms and they want to buy one from each. They want to grab one from here and one from a farm 2 or 3 states away, or and when you get does from so many different farms, you almost have to have a buck for each one. And so the one thing that I've found that has helped us a lot is finding just a couple of farms, 2 or 3, or even just following the lineage and trying to keep closer lines with our does, has made it to where we don't really become buck hoarders. We have a solid line that has similar needs and looks similar, so we can pick a buck that will help each one of them rather than trying to have does that are built different from one line than the other line and another one, to where we have to have a buck for each doe. So that's one advice that I give people that are starting, is try to keep your doe lines kind of tight with those that you're really impressed with, and then maybe bring in bucks from other places to make the improvements that you need. But you don't have to have so many if you keep your doe lines tight. That way they kind of all need the same work.
I 100% agree with that. And I'm really glad that you talked about it, because I think when you're first starting out, I've had, I think, 2 buyers that came to me that said, help me put together a starter herd. And I was like, thank you. Because no one knows your herd better than you do. So I was able to provide them a buck and like 3 does that all complemented each other, that were, somewhat related, but not, too closely related. Because, a lot of new people also do I want a buck and an unrelated doe. Well, that might not be the best plan of attack either. And then if you are starting with one core group of animals that are loosely related, you're going to get consistency so much faster. Yeah. So not only do you not need 10 different bucks, but you're gonna start to hone in on a certain look a lot quicker.
I agree. I honestly think, we kind of use the Goldie. This is Goldie, and then there's Molly. But those 2 are pretty much related to everyone in here in some way or another. Cheyenne and Pumpkin are Molly's son is their dad or their daddy, and Goldie's mom is their mom. So we really loved the doe we got from Barbara Tedesco, and when we retained Goldie, we really loved her and we really loved Molly. So it was kind of one of those things. If we love these two, then why not work with them? And so our doe line basically ties back to those two goats.
And they're very separate lines. We had pretty separate paths for them. She's our show goat and she's our milker.
I think it's hard sometimes when you balance. And I see this a lot. You have those really heavy milkers, and sometimes, and Molly always, she's always kind of the top half, sometimes even, the top 5 in big shows, but she is probably not going to finish a championship, but she's going to out milk most goats. And I do see sometimes that you have your more productive animals and then you have your more show animals. And I know that you can do both, but I think sometimes you end up with one and the other. And then if you use those kind of as your doe lines and continue to cross them, you'll get the balance that you're looking for. So we always kind of laugh and say Molly's our heavy milker and Goldie's our show off goat. But I think that both of them have potential to do both things, but one is more geared to one and one is more geared to the other. I don't really show shop. I just kind of take them and they do what they do. But I know sometimes you can go to the smaller fair shows and follow them a lot and you'll do a little better without as much competition. But I feel like it's important to, compare them. And so when we walked away with a couple of red and blue ribbons, I was so proud. This is Molly's daughter that's fixing a kid, the spotted one. She's, bless her heart. She's like, I'm over it.
Well, thank you very much for joining me today, and good luck with her kidding. And
yes,
enjoy what looks like to be a very beautiful day on your farm.
Yeah, so we don't have chickens and we are building a chicken house. So today's a good day to work on it.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.